Bum, 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 bum. We rejoin our adventure of statistics this evening looking at data merging. Where we last left off, our hero was being thwarted by the nasty problem of not having a commonly named variable between his two data sets. Alas, what to do, what to do? Well, the thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to find that common variable between our two data files. And unfortunately for us, that's going to involve taking a step back before we are able to move forward again. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to close out our pop-up window. We are not quite ready to merge yet. The second thing we need to do is we need to find in our social vulnerability index which variable we intend to merge on. There are lots of variables in here. We have census tract, we have state, we have the name of the state, we have the state county identifier, we have county name, we have detailed FIPS code. We've got lots and lots of information here, and each of those bits of information is associated with this information about area square mileage, total population, so on and so forth, that we need to think about. So one of the things that we're going to want to make sure of in terms of making this determination about merging on is making sure that both of our data sets are on the same unit of analysis. And so to do that, we want to take a little sneak peek into our other data file, which is the U.S. presidential election data file. And so if I go back up to my SPSS example folder, what I'll see there by opening up my U.S. presidential election file, and to do that I just want to double click, what we'll see here is that this data file is the unit of analysis here is the combined FIPS. So not the detailed FIPS, but the combined FIPS code. The combined FIPS code is essentially the equivalent of the county code here in my other file. But what you'll see here in this file, the county code appears multiple times. In the same county value appears multiple times. In this file, each of my values is appearing only once. And so what's happening here is I have too much detail in this file. And so we actually are going to get to do a little side adventure here when it comes to data management stuff using SPSS. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create an aggregate data file so that we have only one row per county value. So we're going to aggregate on this variable. So the first thing we're going to do to aggregate is go up here to data, and we're going to scroll down to aggregate. Again, we're going to go up to data and scroll down to aggregate. Within aggregate, we want to remember what is it we want to aggregate on, and that is state county. And so I'm going to highlight state county and I'm going to move it over here. And now the question is, what do I wish to aggregate? I can aggregate all of these variables in the data file. The thing is, some of these variables are more or less useful to me in aggregate form. Stuff that's more about the logistics of the data file, such as the census tract, the state itself, the state name. These are things that, while useful, are not necessarily going to provide me with tons of great information when I'm already merging in, when I'm going to bring in some of this information from my other file already. So what I'm really primarily focused on here is going to be bringing in the potential variables, my potential analytic variables. So I'm going to do a couple of things. The first is I'm going to bring in county name, and the reason I want to bring in county name is that's going to be a nice little data file check, quality QC check after I'm done with the merging. And then what I want to do is I want to bring in all of the other data on my file. And so to do that, I simply came up here, I clicked on the top variable that I want, which is area square mileage, and then I pulled my scroll bar down to the bottom, I pressed the shift key, and then I pressed the bottom variable, and then I move it over. Now what you'll see when I move it over is SPSS's default is to take the mean of all of these variables. I do not want the mean, actually. I would like to take the aggregate, and the reason I want to take the, sorry, not the aggregate, the sum. And the reason I want to take the sum is that in the data file as it originally exists, each of these FIPS is broken down into its detailed FIPS code, whereas my other data file has the combined FIPS code. So I'm combining all of these FIPS to create my combined FIPS code, and so to in the process of doing that, I want to just sum up all of the data there so that I'm getting this overall value. Representing the data in the county. And so I need to change the function that I am performing when I do this aggregate step. So I want to click the function button, and whereas mean is selected now, I want to switch that over to sum. And again, this is going to sum up all of the values within each particular FIP code. I'm going to click continue. And I'm going to go in and create a new data file just for the ease of the process. And I'm just going to call this new one SVI for Social Vulnerability Index underscore FIPS. The reason I need to do the underscore is that I am not allowed to give a dataset name. A dataset name is not allowed to have a space in it. So I'm going to now run this. In order to run this, I can press OK and it'll do it automatically for me, or I can click paste and it'll generate a syntax code for me. I'm going to click OK. And what we're seeing here is SPSS is going through and it is aggregating and it is now done, and I should have a new data file called SVI FIPS, and lo and behold, here is my new data file called SVI underscore FIPS. And so what I see now is I have each of these values is one particular row. It's associated with one particular row in my data file. I've got my county name, and I've also got information about that county that was pulled forward from the other variables in that data file. And so now I've got it so that both of my data files have the same unit of analysis. The next thing I need to do is I need to make sure, because I'm going to merge on this variable, that my values are all ordered, chronologically, numerically. And so in order to, I need to sort my cases. And so to do that, I want to go up to Data, Sort Cases, and I want to sort on this first variable, sort in ascending order, and press OK. And it was really quick to do. SPSS is done already. And so now what I want to do is I have my newly created SVI FIPS data set. It is ordered the way that I want it to be ordered. And so I'm going to save it so that I don't lose this. And so I'm going to call this SVI FIPS master. And again, because this is my file name, I can have spaces in it. I cannot have spaces in my data set name. I know that might seem a bit confusing. It's one of those nuances in SPSS that's always fun. So I'm going to click Save here. And so now I have my new data file created here, which is my SVI FIPS data file. I'm going to turn back over now to my U.S. presidential elections data file, because again, this is the variable that I want to sort on, but what we'll see here is that it itself is not sorted yet. And so I want to go ahead and sort this data file as well, so that the variable that I am matching on is sorted the same in both of my files. And again, to do that, over here I'm going to click on Data, Sort Cases. I want to sort on my combined FIPS variable. So I'm selecting it from here, I'm moving it over here, I want it to be in ascending order, and then I'm going to click OK. And what we'll see here is that it has sorted it, and so now I want to go ahead and save my newly sorted data file. And so I'm going to click the floppy disk there, and it is now saved. I'm going to return to my SVI FIPS master file, and now we have prepared our data in order to be able to merge it into a single data file, and we will see that accomplished in the next